All right, moving on from our headlines and now moving into snap decisions. This is the second time rolling through snap decisions. If you don't know how this works and how this is going to work, is I have 5 questions here for Drew. There's some follow-up questions on top of that, but he has to answer them. He doesn't know what they are. He has no idea. Okay.
Hopefully I answer them correctly this week.
And then he gets to elaborate afterwards.
You were all primed to take Jaden Daniels up the ladder, and I just shut that one down early. And there was no ladder to take him up. So
it's okay. There's some follow-up questions on some of these. We'll see how it goes. Okay, you ready?
Born ready, baby.
Are the Atlanta Falcons real threats in the NFC playoffs?
No.
Has Caleb Williams and the Bears offense arrived?
Yes.
Will Antonio Pierce finish the season as the Raiders head coach?
Yes.
Okay. Sum up the Cowboys season in one sentence.
It's not over yet.
Did the Eagles do anything to change the perception of the team on Sunday?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so let's go ahead and roll back through, and let's give you some time to elaborate on some. So are the Atlanta Falcons real threats to the NFC playoffs?
I don't think so. I think the Buccaneers are just better than them at this point. And, let me pull it up right now. Standings. Playoff standings. Minnesota, Atlanta, if I'd imagine Tampa Bay wins that division. So now you are right now. If the playoffs started today, the Packers are not in the playoffs, right?
Yeah,
and that's our 7th. They're in our top 10 power rankings. That's going to change. Yeah. Philadelphia is not in the playoffs. Dallas isn't in the playoffs. I just don't expect it to continue. Kirk Cousins, I think, is he going to stay healthy all year? If he doesn't, is Michael Penix ready? Kyle Pitts is still. I think Tyler Algier is their favorite running back out there, even though Bijan had a big game. Like the running back, the percentage of the percentage of the snaps is crazy. Drake London had a massive game. 140 yards 2 weeks ago, but he's largely unproven. The pass rush is still terrible. So I don't believe in them going forward in the playoffs. I just don't think that they're, right now Chicago's in the playoffs, which is kind of funny to think about, but they're 4-2. But in my opinion, I would expect Green Bay to be in, and I would expect, if I had to make a guess, I'd expect the Cowboys to make the playoffs as well.
Hopefully not. Caleb Williams and the Bears offense arriving. You think that they have arrived? They face the 2 worst passing defenses that you can in the league. You expect that this running game is still going to be consistently okay or okay to good, and Caleb to continue on. I know he's developing, and I'm not a Caleb fan, very far from it, but you think they're here?
Yeah, man, you got to beat the teams that you're supposed to beat. And they didn't just beat the Panthers. They didn't just beat Jacksonville. They smashed them. They put up 35 points. That defense is legit. What's going to happen with that defense going forward is it's going to create turnovers. It's going to give Caleb a short field. He's making the throws he needs to make. Keenan Allen gets his first touchdown on the season this week. It's all coming together. They have the Commanders, which is going to be a tough game. But then they got Arizona and New England, They do have to go Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, San Francisco, Minnesota, Detroit, Seattle, Green Bay to finish the season. That's fucking nasty. And I didn't know that. That's why it's called snap judgments. But holy shit. God damn, that sucks.
Yep.
Ooh, that is a tough division. Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit. Good Lord. It's like the new NFC East.
You teetered on this one a little bit. Will Antonio Pierce finish the season as the Raiders head coach?
Well, you didn't ask me should.
Yeah, I said it will. Yep.
If you said should, I said absolutely not. They need to get him out of there. But Max Crosby went to bat for this guy and said he wanted him to be the head coach. If Max Crosby is traded, then I think they just let Antonio Pierce run out the season because they're going to suck anyway and they're going to move on from him in the offseason. Why do you go to an interim at that point? The other fact of the matter is Mark Davis is broke as shit. He doesn't have the money to do all this stuff. He's already paying 16 other head coaches that he had to fire. But, this offseason, he could have made a serious run at Jim Harbaugh. The Chargers look legit, even though they have a lower level roster in the NFL right now. They look legit with the head coach that's over there coaching through a heart attack. And meanwhile, you got Antonio Pierce on the sideline with his pom-poms, and he can't do anything. So should he finish the season? He should not. Will he? Probably, because what other coach do you have on that staff? Like, what interim coach are you going to have?
Right.
The Jets have had Jeff Ulbrich in the wings for a long time because the 49ers tried to hire him as their defense coordinator, and the Jets said no. They gave him a fat ass raise and said, hey, stay here. We got plans for you. Yep. There's nobody in the Raiders. Like, there's no. So will they fire him? No. Should they? Yes.
Sum up the Cowboy season in one sentence.
I still think they're going to the playoffs, man. I don't think it's over. They've had a few lackluster showings. The defense is super hurt right now. The fact that your stupid ass owner / GM refused to solve the running back problem in the offseason is mind-boggling. Did you see him throw a fit?
Did you see him throw a fit today?
No, what'd he do?
Threw a fit on the radio show of them questioning his lack of offseason moves, and they questioned him a handful of, like, it's the radio show he always goes on, but
it's his dumbass fault. He said he was going in,
and they questioned him, and he was like, "I'll get someone else to answer these questions. It's ridiculous for you to sit here and question me, and you're gonna bring up all the wrongs. You're not even gonna bring up the rights." And it's like, bro, hang it up. Like, go to bed, Grandpa. When it comes to the Cowboys season, though, when you're looking at the future, there were 3-3. The next game that we end up playing is against the Niners, and then we have the Falcons, and then we have the Eagles, and then we have the Texans, and then we have the Commanders. It's 5 games that don't look so good. Then you have the Giants, and then you have the wishy-washy Bengals. We'll see how that one goes. And then you have the Panthers. You have a good finish there. But then we have the Bucks, another division opponent in the Eagles, and then we play the Commanders again. I don't know how well the season's going to end up finishing out. We've looked like shit. Even with the wins, we've looked like shit. So I can't even hang my hat on any single one of these wins. The Steelers, the Giants, or the Browns, I'm not proud of any one of those. Those are some of the worst teams in the league outside the Steelers, but those other 2 wins, the Giants and the Browns, I'm not hanging my hat on. So that's my perception of it. But again, talked about it week in, week out. I'm a pessimistic fan. And then the Eagles.
He said, your job isn't to let me go over all the reasons that I did something. That's not your job. I'll get somebody else to ask these questions. I'm not kidding. That's what happens when an owner, this happens locally in Sacramento too. The Kings had a lot of play back in the day over who was on the radio. The Raiders did too. Mark Davis got a lot of dudes. John Middlecoff, he works with Colin Cowherd. He's fantastic. I love the 3 and Out podcast. Shout out to John Middlecoff. He got fired by the Raiders because he was criticizing them. Yep. Jerry Jones basically saying, listen, you're going to ask me pancake ass, pre-recorded, pre-authorized questions, or I'll fire you and get someone else to ask me the questions that I want to answer. It's a joke. He has too much control. They need to, Jerry Jones. Never mind. I won't say it. I was going to make a Vince McMahon comparison. I won't go there. But, talking about his players' packages and shit. I think it's time for Steven. He's got to take a bigger role on this. Jerry Jones also said, hell no, there's nobody that could effing come in here and be a better GM than me. And that's after trading away Amari Cooper for a 5th when 3 years later he went for a 3rd here. So, but like I said, it's not over. You got the highest paid player in the NFL. That's got to count for something.
Yeah, I sure as hell hope it does. And then the last question is, did the Eagles do anything to change perception of the team?
I think Jalen Hurts hates Nick Sirianni.
I hope so. I think everyone hates Nick Sirianni, except Nick Sirianni, who probably looks himself in the mirror and absolutely just loves himself. Yeah, I think he's about the only one.
Did you see him screaming at the fans?
Yeah. Yep. Fucking clown. He looks like a fucking idiot out there. He's dumb.
And the other, so here's the other problem though with the Eagles that they have right now. Their offensive coordinator also sucks. Kellen Moore is not a guy. He made Dak look like shit. He's made Justin Herbert look like shit, and now Jalen Hurts doesn't look very good either. Kellen Moore's not the answer. So if you fire Sirianni, you're not putting Kellen Moore as the interim head coach. That would be a terrible idea.
Yep. I agree.
Oh, is that William Belichick's